Ladies and gentlemen, this is really interesting. You have Scaramucci, Anthony Scaramucci, who, for some reason, today says the GOP may need to replace Trump. Well, this is the headline. GOP may need to replace Trump for 2020. What? Quote, we're now on the early episodes of Chernobyl on HBO, where the reactor is melting down and the apparatchiks are trying to figure out whether to cover it up or start the cleanup process, Scaramucci, who was ousted from his job after 11 days, told the outlet. So he was speaking to Axios, and it's like, okay, we can talk about the motivation to say something so absurd, but here, quote, a couple more weeks like this, and country over party? The Russians didn't interfere in the election. That is a bunch of nonsense. Trump didn't work with the Russians to interfere in the election. Country over party. So he's promoting the same line, the same public relations point that says, put the country first. We have this orange monster in the White House who could have worked with Russia to buy Facebook ads that nobody saw and infiltrate the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated. But let's continue. A couple more weeks like this on country over party. And just really quickly, when people say, but the intelligence community says that Russia interfered, even President Trump's. So what? Who cares? They need to justify their existence. They need to have there's always some external threat before it was actual threats to the physical safety of American lives. Now it's Russia with Facebook ads and hacking the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated. That's the influence. That's how he was installed by the Russians. And after an unethical a special counsel that was started with numerous illegal acts, James Comey, McCabe, James Baker, and another FBI official that Sarah Carter was talking about, have all been accused of criminal conduct. 2 are under active public criminal investigation. The other 2 are part of an ongoing probe. You have the Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. You have CrowdStrike outsourced by Democrats. You have Alexander Downer linked to the Clinton Foundation. If you read my article in the Federalist below that was shared by Rush Limbaugh 2 days in a row, all of the quote-unquote evidence is linked to Clinton. They never interfered in the election. That's a bunch of nonsense. President Trump's recent response, which is what Scaramucci is talking about, to tragedies that the Democratic Party takes advantage of simply to disarm Americans. His response to tragedies was not like, how did President Obama respond, and how were his words less influential in these tragedies taking place? President Trump never promoted or incited or motivated any madman. That is a talking point. But let's just continue, because you had these horrible, horrible atrocities, and I speak more freely on H.A. Goodman's other channel. You had these horrible atrocities under President Obama. But when President Obama drinks Flint water, you don't have the media frenzy. You don't have the these maniacal journalists talking about, he deliberately deceived people of Flint by drinking Flint water to say the water was safe. They never said that. They just shrugged their shoulders. Could you imagine if President Trump drank Flint water? What would Scaramucci say then? But let's continue. A couple more weeks of that country over party. How is the country? Let's look at country. Let's look at country over a party. U.S. wages growing at fastest rate in 9 years as unemployment stays at 3.9%. Heather Long, September 7th, 2018. Okay? Oh, 2000, that's 2018, but 2019, you have the same type. Since then, you've had, I was actually looking at a whole bunch of articles. That was in 2018. But since then, why wages are finally rising? May 2nd, 2019, 10 years after the recession. So this is May 2nd, 2019, why wages are finally rising 10 years after the recession. May 8th, 2019, at a 10-year high, wage growth for American workers likely to keep accelerating. Okay, this is all this year. So then they're like, well, real wages, they haven't budged for decades. That's in 2018. They're starting to move now in 2019. U.S. economy adds another 224,000 new jobs in June. As wage increases remain strong. So how is this a bad thing? How is this a horrible thing? Party over a country over a party. What does that even mean? A couple of weeks like this and country over parties. What a nauseating. I mean, this is the type of thing that makes James Comey queasy. Is going to require the Republicans to replace the top ticket in 2020? Yeah, let's replace Trump. You will have the Democratic Party already outspends Republicans 2-1 on pretty much every election. And they still barely either lose or they win. Barely. Clinton outspent Trump 2-1 and she barely lost. Let's ensure that Republicans, so I'm not a Republican, I'm no affiliation, but you will get steamrolled if not for Trump. Scaramucci, a prominent Republican donor, maybe he just wants to burn all his money on what? Jeb, who's going to save the Democratic Party from... America they want President Trump. They want a person like Trump who speaks his mind. They don't like political correctness. They can't stand it. They can't stand Twitter. They can't stand this rabid, maniacal, judgmental, absurd condemnation all the time by people on the left who fabricate investigations, blame Russia for their faults, their losses, cheat Bernie Sanders. They don't want an interventionist president. President Trump wants to bring home Americans. He stated that. He said he wants to bring all Americans home from Afghanistan. What is wrong with that? Right now, it's an unspeakable thing, he continued, but if he keeps it up, it will no longer be unspeakable. Well, keep what? Keep what up? What do you want him to do? Every tragedy, every horrible thing that takes place, they blame Trump. But they didn't blame Obama, and they don't blame people of a certain religion, which I don't think you should. I don't think you should do that. But with the logic the left uses, with the logic Democrats use, then anyone who pledges allegiance to fill in the horrible organization that says they're doing it in the name of a religion, then, that means that the religion is at fault. Or that means people who espouse those beliefs are at fault. Or that means people who are okay with those beliefs are at fault. Or that means it's like... We learned the past decade and a half, or the past 2 decades, that you can't blame the horrible, horrible actions, and I can't speak freely here, but on H.A. Goodman's other channel I can. You can't blame the horrible actions of deranged human beings who just want others to suffer on whatever they claim they're doing it in the name of. And we've always known that, and it's, Anyway, right now it's an unspeakable thing, but if it keeps up, yeah, you know what? Do it. It will only make Trump is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. Whatever you do to try to hurt him comes back against you. Look at Joaquin Castro. But if he keeps it up, it will no longer be unspeakable. The minute they start speaking of it, it will circulate and be socialized. Yeah, let's all the Republican, the establishment Republicans. Trump is not buoyed. He's not fueled by establishment Republicans. There aren't enough establishment Republicans in the country for the Republican Party to be viable. They're like the establishment Republican base that is kind of caught in between the establishment Democrat base and President Trump. The Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. Even Ted Cruz is like he's basically a Marco Rubio that maybe is more like, speaks in a different manner, like more of a populist, but not really. The John McCain, there's not enough. You would get obliterated as a political party. And with that, you would ban all they would ban all firearms. If they said, "Oh, well, we can't have Trump," which is obviously absurd. President Trump has a 96% approval rating within the Republican Party. We can't afford a full nuclear contamination site post 2020. Yeah, right. Scaramucci comments to Axios following him last week, calling Trump's visit, a catastrophe. What? It's very interesting. They always talk about the suffering of others, but they never realize that they're utilizing the suffering of others for political gain, both the establishment on the left and right. Any challenger would likely face long odds in a primary bid. Of course. He has historic support within the Republican Party. Then CNN, Trump is impeaching himself. It's like, oh my God. Just do it. Scaramucci says that Trump will turn on everyone eventually, then the entire country. Yes, I know. We need Hillary. Who's running again? Yes, she is. Clinton would destroy any establishment Republican. Any establishment Republican. Because she would outspend that establishment Republican. Completely and utterly outspend that establishment Republican. And anyone would. Like, you could have actually the current field of Democrats who have no chance against Trump, and they could beat an establishment Republican because there's no, I don't really care, actually. I'm not a Republican. I'm in no party affiliation. But it's interesting to have a person like Anthony Scaramucci talk about, well, we have to put country. What did he say? Country above party. Country over party. I don't care if the RNC or the DNC implode. I really don't. Because I'm voting Trump. I'm not voting for a Republican, and I'm conservative on certain issues, the Second Amendment being one of them. But President Trump's policies, when you talk about foreign policy, pretty liberal on most things. And mainly, he wants to bring Americans home. The economy is great. Record low Black and Latino unemployment. The economy is a great economy. You can say, well, it's not as good as you think, and it's going to be, eventually it's going to tank. That's a different story. It's a different topic. Right now, it's a great economy. Right now, everything that people, Paul Krugman, people who predicted, Paul Krugman and the New York Times, people who predicted doom and gloom, they have egg on their face. I don't get this. So Scaramucci wants Trump to just acquiesce to the media message, the same media message that said that he worked with Russia, or the same media pundits or journalists that said he worked with Russia, that he was a threat to humanity, he would engage in an atomic conflict, all of these things. He's the first president to step foot in North Korea. He's the first president to begin some kind of peace, the beginning of peace between North and South Korea. So, it's like, it's just unbelievable. Scaramucci said that Trump will turn on everyone eventually, then the entire country. Yes, because the 11 days that you were working with him, and so because you know him so well, I mean, obviously, look, he's obviously, this ensures that he gets more airtime. This is like the Avenatti type of public relations, marketing program. Say that Trump is this madman, and then, CNN, for the last 3 years, I have fully supported this president. Recently, he said things that divide the country in a way that's unacceptable. No, he hasn't. The media has sensationalized everything he stated, focused on he states poverty in a crude manner. Instead of focusing on the poverty, they focus on the way he stated the poverty in certain areas that are Democratic Party run. So I didn't pass the 100% litmus test. Eventually, so recently he said things that divide the country. No, the media divides the country, not Trump. So President Obama didn't divide the country when he had the same horrible atrocities taking place and the same poverty within those areas of the country. As long as the poverty exists in certain areas and you don't talk about it, you're not dividing the country. But if you talk about it in a way they don't like, they twist your words and then they say, oh my God, look what he said. Eventually he turns on everyone and soon it will be you and then the entire country. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? So Trump wrote in a tweet, Anthony Scaramucci was quickly terminated 11 days from a position that he was totally incapable of handling, now seems to do nothing but television as the all-time expert of Donald Trump, President Trump. So Trump clowns him. Okay, so this is Anthony Scaramucci was quickly... This is the other day. Anthony Scaramucci was quickly terminated 11 days from a position that he was totally incapable of handling, now seems to do nothing but television as the all-time expert of President Trump. Like many so-called television experts, he knows very little about me, other than the fact that this administration probably done more than any other administration in the first 2.5 years of existence. Anthony, who would do anything to come back in, should remember the only reason he's on TV, and it's not for being the mooch. So, this is Trump. But see, the thing is, it helps Anthony Scaramucci because he's now talked about relevant. Okay, this is the Avenatti type of marketing strategy, but it backfires. It backfires. Trump actually got more money from recent fundraisers. So I don't get it. I get it, but then I don't get it. It's. There hasn't been a president. If President Trump had President Obama's record on and he done the things that President Obama did, if he destroyed a country like Libya, if he drank Flint water in a shameful stunt, if he had a Secretary of State with private servers, if Kushner had private servers, it would still be less of a national security risk than Clinton having private servers outside the U.S. government with top secret and special access program intelligence. If Trump had purchased a dossier against Clinton and others, the Democrats, the media, they do everything to divide the country along every single, subject matter, from race to foreign policy to accusing people of being deplorable and racist and everything. And then they ignore the fact that they're the ones who deported 3 million immigrants. They're the ones who do things worse. They're the ones who are the antithesis of their alleged value system. And they're doubling down again. You have Beto O'Rourke, who's, by the way, only a Democrat, only the Democratic Party would be okay with a white guy who has a Spanish nickname. That's okay. They don't see the irony there. They don't see, here's a person who's pontificating about racism. And he's not even the identity politics version of he's the antithesis of one. He's a person who's pretending to be a Latino, but he's not Latino, and his name is Beto O'Rourke. And suddenly he knows that Trump is this horrible bigot and racist, but only one person pretends to be an ethnicity that he's not in order to get votes, and that's Beto O'Rourke. But Beto O'Rourke is not, racist at all. And under President Trump's administration, you have record low Latino unemployment, record low. It's never been lower. And you have 30% of Latinos who voted for Trump. And that was after a 2015, 2016 media frenzy that said he was a horrible person, and he said this, and he said that, and he said this, and he said that, and he still won the election. So they have nothing, they don't have a strategy against Trump except making everything morally relative, so Clinton jumps in and says, I'm back. Why aren't I 50 points ahead? Give me your thoughts below. Who knows why Anthony Scaramucci is going this way? But you definitely have, I call this the Avenatti effect, and it doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all. In fact, it backfires on the person. The only people who can kind of get away with it is Hillary Clinton, who is just, who's running again, and who runs the show, runs the Democratic Party. Give me your thoughts below. Check out my last segment on Clinton, because Steve Bannon, for the second time in a week, said that she's running. There's a reason for that, because she's running. And I've been saying that since 2017. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. I talk about things I cannot talk about on this channel. Check out my writing in the Jerusalem Post, The Federalist. Thank you so very, very much. Give me your thoughts. Why would you have Mr. Scaramucci speaking in this manner when he's just... He's utilizing the media, and the media is utilizing him, and it just doesn't work well. It just doesn't work well for people who do that against this president. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.